Trigger warning, this episode of Below the Forest Floor contains themes of suicide, death, murder, and may not be suitable for young children. Caution is advised. Welcome to Below the Forest Floor. My name is Nancy and today we are going to be discussing the legendary apparition, La Llorona. What exactly is La Llorona? La Llorona is a Mexican urban legend of a ghostly woman dressed in white who wanders creeks and rivers looking for her dead children, and if she finds a child all alone, she'll take them with her. How did La Llorona get her name? Well, La Llorona means the weeping woman in Spanish. And why does she weep? Because a long time ago she fell in love with a man who didn't want kids, which she already had. So she decided to get rid of them the only way she knew how, by taking them to the river and drowning them one by one. When she went to go tell the man that she was now child-free, she found him with another woman. It turns out he never loved her at all, and she was overcome with grief with what she'd done. She went down to the river to try to get her children back, but when she realized what she'd actually done, she went insane and drowned herself. Because she did such a horrible thing, her spirit was cursed to wander the earth for the rest of eternity in search of her children. The legend has it that if you are caught alone by the creek or river, that she will come and claim you as her own. But that only applies to kids. If you're an adult, it means an omen of death. Now, this isn't by any means the official story of La Llorona. This is just one version that I was told growing up. My dad would tell my brother and I these stories because it was what he was told when he was a child growing up in Mexico in the 1950s and 60s. He even took inspiration from this story to play a prank on some kids. He dressed head to toe in white and went down to the river one day where a bunch of kids were playing. He started to make scary noises from the bushes and claimed that he was La Llorona, there to take them all away. All the kids scattered out of fear, except for one brave young man who turned back and chucked a huge rock at the monster and ended up breaking my dad's nose. And if you think that this story being told in the 50s and 60s sounds old, then you're definitely in for quite the surprise. This urban legend actually originates from true events dating back to the 16th century, where the Spanish conquistadores invaded Mexico. Hernán Cortés, the leader of the invaders, took 20 indigenous women as slaves, one of which he would make his interpreter, advisor, intermediary, and eventually she would become the mother of his first child. This woman helped the Spanish conquer Mexico and betrayed her people in the process. This betrayal made her the most hated woman in Mexico. Because of this hatred, she gained the nickname La Malinche. This translates to twisted grass, which symbolizes treason. Of course, once you've done something to become so hated, people are going to either spread rumors or make up stories to slander your name. It came quite easily to the Mexican people because her new life as Cortés' partner would be cut extremely short. La Malinche would eventually become La Llorona. Although she never drowned or hurt her child, Cortés did end up leaving her for his own wife. His wife had come down from Spain to Mexico to see if the rumors were true that Cortés had been cheating on her. Cortés chose to stay with his wife and married La Malinche off to one of his men and gave their child away to one of his cousins to care for. Eventually, Cortés took his child with him back to Spain, and La Malinche was left childless until her second child was born, which she died soon after. This created the betrayed woman trope that would lead to the main story of our urban legend. Like I mentioned before, there is more than one version of La Llorona story. In one version, the closest to the real life event is that La Llorona was once a married woman who was unloved by her husband. Although he didn't love her, he adored their 2 children. This angered her greatly, but the last straw was when she found her husband in the arms of another woman. This drove her to exact revenge on him by destroying the things he loved most, his kids. After she finished with them at the river, she drowned herself as well out of anger and grief. But because of what she'd done, she was not allowed into the gates of heaven and was forced to wander the earth to search for their souls. This is why you'll hear crying along the riverbed right before she takes any child that she can find with her as replacement. Another version of this story comes from the very first ever published reference to La Llorona by poet Manuel Carpio in the 1800s sonnet, where he writes a story of a woman who was murdered by her husband and her ghost is forced to wander the earth. La Llorona would eventually make her way onto mainstream media as a Halloween attraction in Universal Studios back in 2012, and would have her very own movie in the US in 2019 named The Curse of La Llorona. This movie, as many major films do, took some liberties when it came to some content, but did at least get the point across that she tries to steal children. Although La Llorona is supposed to be a made-up folktale used to scare children, there are still many who have claimed to have seen her or heard her. Those who claim to hear her say that they've either heard a woman crying by a river or a lake, and that she cries or either yells, "Ay mis niños," which translates to "Oh my children." Others who have seen her claim to have lost someone close to them soon after. Whether La Llorona is real or not is still something that causes a lot of controversy in the urban legend community, but what I do know is that she has a home here with us below the forest floor. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and I hope to see you all next week when we find out the origins of vampires. Thank you so much to our friend Lotus for next week's topic suggestion. If you guys want to go check out a super chill streamer and YouTuber, go give my friend Lotus a follow on Twitter at Lotus Vincent.